What? Did you think I was going to use the same music for book 2? Come on, I've got 8 music tracks, 1 for each book, and they're even themed to the books as well. So, it's time for The Way of Tiger, book 2. Here we go. I am Ninja. My parents are the heaven and the earth. My home is my body. My power is loyalty. My magic is training. My life and my death is breathing. My body is control. My eyes are the sun and the moon. My ears are sensitivity. My laws are self-protection. My strength is adaptability. My ambition is taking every opportunity with fullness. My friend is my mind. My enemy is carelessness. My protection is right action. My weapons are everything that exists. My strategy is one foot in front of the other. My trust is in Quan. My way is the way of the tiger. Hello everybody! I'm Raphael Perry, and it's time once again to return to the Way of the Tiger. I've been meaning to do this for a long time and probably left it far too long, so I'd better make up for it now. Our ninja, Avenger, has been left on the roof of Doomover Castle for far too long, needing to escape from the guards who even now ascend the stairs to capture him after the slaying of Yaemon, grandmaster of the Order of the Flame. I believe also of the Mantis monks? I can't remember. It's been a long time. Now, a couple of things. First off, I couldn't remember at all. I had this strong feeling that all our endurance points should be restored at the end of the adventure, even though it's almost mid-action sequence. So, I went back and checked section 420 at the end of book 1. And I could find no... Your wounds are healed as if by a miracle, and new strength floods into your body as the god gives you inner force. That being said, I couldn't find anything explicitly stating healing. So I had a look through the rules and intro at the start of book 2 to see if there was anything more explicit. And indeed there was. So that's good. I think I will go over the rules and background. I'm going to skip some of the mechanical stuff because we've seen it before in previous books, and I don't need book 1 open anymore now. In the magical world of Orb, alone in a sea that the people of the Man March call endless, lies the mystical island of tranquil dreams. You'll notice that in this game there are a lot of word names. Orb, Man March, endless, tranquil dreams. Lots of word names. Many years have passed since the time when, as an infant, you first saw its golden shores and emerald rice meadows. A servant brought you, braving the distant leagues of the ponderous ocean, from lands to which you have never returned, and that is a long sentence for someone with asthma. Your loyal servant laid you, an orphan, at the steps of the Temple of the Rock, praying that the monks would care for you, for she was frail and dying of a hideous curse. Monks have lived on the island for centuries, dedicated to the worship of their god, Quan, he who seeks the holy words of power, supreme master of unarmed combat. They live only to help others resist the evil that infests the world. Seeing that you were alone and needed care, the monks took you in, and you became an acolyte at the Temple of the Rock. Nothing was made of the strange birthmark, shaped like a crown, which you carry on your thigh, though you remember that the old servant insisted that it was of mystical importance. Whenever you have asked about this, the monks have bade you meditate and be patient. The most ancient and powerful of them all, Najishi, Grandmaster of the Dawn, became your foster father. He gave you guidance and training in the calm goodness of Quan, knowledge of men and their ways, and how to meditate so that your mind floats free of your body and rides the winds in search of truth. From the age of 6, however, most of your time has been spent learning the way of the tiger. Now you are a ninja, a master of the martial arts and a deadly assassin who can kill the most powerful enemies unseen and unsuspected, just as we actually managed to slay Honoric, the leader of the Legion of the Sword of Doom, without even entering combat, through the secretive use of poison while he slept, dripping it, running it down a string to drip into his throat. And I must admit, when I first played this book years ago, I hadn't even seen Thunderball yet, right? Honestly not sure which came out first, to be honest. Like a tiger, you are strong, stealthy, agile, patient in the stalking of prey, and deadly. In the land of plenty and the man march, the fabled ninja, known as the men with no shadow, are held in awe. The mere mention of ninja strikes fear into people's hearts, but you are one of the few who worship Quan and follow the way of the tiger. You use your skill as a bringer of death to rid the world of evildoers. At an early age, you hung by the hands for hours on end from the branches of trees to strengthen your arms. You ran for miles, your light-footed speed enough to keep a 30-foot ribbon trailing above the ground. You trod tightropes as agile as a monkey. Now you swim like a fish and leap like a tiger. You don't dance like a butterfly or sting like a bee, but you might if you get lucky. You move like the wisp of the breeze and glide through the blackest night like a shade. Before he died, Najishi taught you the ninja's covenant. Is that a bit of a retcon because of the way it's taught in the first book after he died? Oh no, this is different. Ah yes, it's this one, right. I will vanish into the night, change my body to wood or stone, sink into the earth and walk through walls and locked doors. I will be killed many times, yet will not die, change my face and become invisible, able to walk among men without being seen. And indeed, in the first book, we did sink into the earth to avoid being burned alive. I feel we passed through at least one locked door. We were certainly killed many times. A few. That monster towards the end was really brutal. Change my face and become invisible. We did disguise ourselves as a minstrel and were not seen as an assassin. Walk among men without being seen. He came pretty close on a number of occasions. It was after your foster father, Najishi's death, that you began to live the words of the covenant. A man came to the island, Yaemon, grandmaster of the flame. Using borrowed sorcery, he tricked the monks into believing that he was a worshipper of Quan from the great continent. He was indeed a monk, but he worshipped Quan's twisted brother, Vile, who helps the powerful to subdue the weak, and wicked men to rule fools. Vile also has a word name. Yaemon slew Najishi. No one could match him in unarmed combat, and he stole the scrolls of Kettsuin from the temple. Look, guys, it's 5:57 in the morning. I should have done this about 3 or 4 hours ago, but I goofed off a bit. I recorded a new intro for Book 2, which you should have heard at the beginning of this episode. Once more you knew the pain of loss, for you had loved Nagishi as a father. You swore an oath to Quan that one day you would avenge his death. The Malice of the Gods of Evil. As chronicled in the book Avenger, you used your skills as a hunter and a bringer of death to avenge the killing of Nagishi, your spirit father. This section is written for people who may not have played Book 1, or who might not have watched my videos on Book 1. So hey, here we go. You tracked his murderer, Yaemon, grandmaster of the evil monks of the Scarlet Mantis, to quench Heart Keep in the shadow of the Goblin's Teeth Mountains. A ranger, Glevas, brought you across the endless sea on his ship, the Aquamarine, and you landed at the city of Doomover. Not Doomover Keep, Quench Heart Keep. Of course, it's the name of the soundtrack for this book. Should have checked that before I started calling. Landed at the city of Doomover in the Man March. You travelled hundreds of leagues through the wilderness, crossing the mountains of Vision at Fortune Pass, where you were forced to kill Olvar the Chaosbringer, a berserk barbarian. Thence you journeyed to the Sea of the Star, to Druath Glenan, and now to Quench Heart Keep. Yaemon had stolen the scrolls of Kettsuin, which hold the secret to the word of power which would bind your god, Quan, in Inferno. 2 other powerful and evil men had joined him. Each knew another such word of power to bind a god or goddess in the lake of boiling blood for eternity. And those were Honoric of the Legion of the Sword of Doom and Mance the Death Magician, the Necromancer. What was his name? I can't remember now. I could check. I should probably check. Let's see. Doo-ba-doo. Pictures will help. If they don't, I will. Yeah, might be a little flickering. If you have like photosensitive reactions, sorry about that. What is his name? The Necromancer. Mance. It is Mance. Yeah. Mance the Death Mage. Right, yes. And we slew him with Honoric's sword, which rendered his sorcery ineffective against us. You stand now on the rain-washed roof of the Great Keep. You have just killed Yaemon's allies, poisoned Honoric, leader of the dreaded Legion of the Sword of Doom. If I'd just scrolled down a little with the blood of Nil, and slaughtered Mance the Death Mage, a reverencer of Nemesis, the most powerful of the gods of evil. Their bodies lie chill and cold nearby. After a great battle with Yaemon, you have now triumphed again, and are avenged. With his dying breath he has told you that he was responsible for the death of your true father, whom you never knew. Now he lies before you. In death he seems smaller and less imposing than in life. His scarlet jacket, now drenched with rain and sweat, has fallen open to reveal a waxed parchment, the scrolls of Kettsuin, and a map of Orb. You are about to open these when a wondrous feeling of peace overwhelms you, and the voice of your god Quan sounds all around you. The Grandmaster of the Dawn named you well, Avenger, for now it is Yaemon and not I who will languish in the lake of boiling blood in Inferno. If you had failed, the Doom Legion and the monks of the Scarlet Mantis would have swept across the Man March, aided by the priests who revere Nemesis, and all mankind would have lived in terror under the evil lords you have slain. Your wounds are healed as if by a miracle, and new strength floods into your body as the god gives you inner force. You feel dazed and awed by what is happening, and the sense of Quan's goodness fills your soul with enlightenment. There is little time now, Avenger, for the gods of evil move against us. You must return the scrolls of Kettsuin to their rightful place at the Temple of the Rock on the island of Tranquil Dreams. Your journey will be beset by dangers, but I will aid you. Choose a skill from the way of the tiger which you have not yet mastered, and I will grant you its knowledge. It shall be as if you had practiced it from your birthing. Major fourth wall break right there. The god continues, I will help you but once, at any time of great danger. If you truly have need of me, say, Quan, redeem me, and I shall be your salvation. I will watch over you, Avenger, for it is my hope that one day you will join me in the garden of the gods. As Quan's presence leaves, you cannot stop yourself from calling out, Who was my real father? It is as if the wind itself speaks to you as the voice of Quan fades. It is not yet time, Avenger. You shrug your shoulders defiantly as the malice of the gods of evil seems to beat upon your back. You will put many obstacles in your way, and you will never see the beautiful island of Tranquil Dreams again if fate should turn her back on you. You shiver, noticing the coldness of the rain for the first time. Quan has departed, and you are alone once more. And as we remember from the end of the first book, we heard the sound of mail-shod feet upon the stairs as guards came running up, attracted by the sound of the battle with Yaemon. Not a good position for us to be in as a ninja, but we are a sneaky ninja. Right, I'm going to skip some of this. So, combat, basic stuff. We can punch, we can kick. The defense number is not a target. We have to beat it to hit. Enemy defense will vary depending on the move we choose to use, and our defense will vary depending on the moves the enemies do. So we want to roll high when we're attacking and roll low when we're defending, if I am correct. We can also attempt to block or parry. Kick does an extra 2 damage. A throw adds 2 to the damage. A successful throw adds 2 to the damage of the next attack. We start with 20 endurance points. If we lose them all, we're dead. As you see, I have my wonderfully detailed character sheet here containing notes from the first book. I'm going to make a note. There we go. Look, it's rubbish, but it gives me a... I'll tidy up those a little bit later because they're not as important. Block. If we get hit, we can attempt to block, and we need to roll under our defense. So the enemies need to roll over our defense to hit us, and we need to roll under our defense to block. So if it was an easy hit for an enemy, it's going to be a hard block. If it was a hard hit for an enemy, it's going to be an easy block. It does reduce our modifiers. So our next attack after the block will be at -2 to hit. So it's something we don't generally want to do unless it's an emergency. Inner Force. We have 5 points of Inner Force. We can use them at various points during the adventure. We can use them in a fight to do double damage when we hit. Luck. Roll high, roll low. High is lucky, low is unlucky. We have a luck modifier of +1, so we are lucky on a 6. And if it gets +2, that'll go down to a 5. While backing up the sheet for the old sheet for book 2, which I discovered I'd completely overwritten with this one anyway, and checking the sheet for book 3, I am aware that there's like at least one punch, kick, and throw modifier, possibly even a luck modifier. Yeah, one of each lurking somewhere. in Book 2 and Book 3. So I'm going to have to be on the lookout for those. Right. Skills. We have the 9 ninja skills, and we have a new one that we didn't have before. Previously, we had arrow cutting, immunity to poisons, and picking locks and disarming traps. And I have chosen climbing for our new skill. It is a very useful skill that we could have really done with at about 3 points in Book 1. However, we were able to get by without them, but now, as we're stuck on the top of a tower, with guards running up the stairs behind us, you know, we kind of don't want to be here when they arrive, and the skill of climbing would be really useful to get us down from here without having to fight our way down the stairs, especially given the wounded state we were in at the time. We also have our ninja tools. We have the ninja costume, the iron sleeves for blocking, the breathing tube of bamboo for hiding underwater and breathing, a garrote for strangling people. We have used our flash powder. We threw it into the fire to start a fight with Olvar the Barbarian. We have our flint and tinderbox, used for starting fires. The spiderfish. We do still have the spiderfish venom. We haven't had to use that yet. Often can be used in conjunction with the poison needle skill. The blood of Nil. You usually carry 1 dose of the most virulent poison known on Orb, but you have already used it to kill Honoric. This venom is extremely difficult and very dangerous to collect, for it is taken from the barb of a scorpion son of the god Nil, mouth of the void. And now we get ready to get into the action. If you have not played Avenger and successfully completed Book 1... If you have not played and successfully completed Book 1, Avenger, in the Way of the Tiger series, then you may begin this book with the equipment listed. If you have successfully completed Book 1, then you should continue Assassin with the same character. Simply transfer all the information from your original character sheet to the one given in Book 2. You will begin with the number of shuriken that you had left in Book 1, so about 1. 1. But with your endurance and inner force scores, have been restored to maximum by your god Quan, which is great because if they hadn't, we would have been in real trouble. You have also learned 1 new skill from the existing list of 8. Add the one you have chosen to your character sheet. You also continue Book 2 with any special items you may have picked up from your journey to Quenchheart Keep. Most importantly, you should transfer all your modifiers, Fate, Punch, Kick, and Throw, to your new character sheet, and all the knowledge of Quan's Flail if you learned that skill in Book 1. Quan's Flail is kind of like the Summersword from the Lone Wolf series, in that it's just the really good thing you get near the beginning, but you absolutely want to have and you don't want to miss out on. With these skills and weapons at your disposal, you are now a ninja warrior, and ready to take a step in the way of the tiger. Now turn to Section 1. From the echoing footfalls, you guess that more than 20 soldiers are running up the keep's spiral staircase towards you, and they will surely try to kill you when they find out what you have done to their leader Honoric and his allies Yaemon and Mance the Death Mage. The roof is still dimly lit by the glowing coals from a brazier. What will you do? Defend the top of the staircase so that they can only come at you singly. Mate, there's a lot of them, and with the weight of bodies, they could probably pile on through. Try an enormous leap from the keep's roof, hoping that you can clear the castle wall and land in the moat far below. Mate, we saw the map in Book 1. The wall isn't that close, and we might hit the wall, might miss the moat. If you have the skill of climbing, which we only just acquired, you may wish to climb down the outside wall of the Great Keep. Let's absolutely do that. Shame it's not hot linked. It's a quick, cheap scan. It is what it is. You know, it's been on the internet for years, this scan of the series. And there are some typos in Book 2 that I need to be aware of. I know of some in Book 3. I was warned of one in Book 2 in the comments section of one of the previous Way of the Tiger videos, so I will go check those comments in between episodes and add a note to myself as to the section that needs adjusting. I would have thought there's actually a few other sections as well, actually, but I'll go back and check the old Kickstarter update comments where they listed the errata for books, which basically is where I got my errata for this playthrough. So hey, that would be the Kickstarter for the reprints a while back. You dart nimbly to the edge of the keep's roof and fix your cat's claws to your wrists and hands. Sorry, blah. The cat's claws being like bladed implements for climbing. You dart nimbly to the edge of the keep's... Blah! Not the roof's keep. My mouth at this time in the morning, I swear. Ah, dear. You dart nimbly to the edge of the keep's roof and fix your cat's claws to your wrists and hands. Fixing! Fixing! My God! Oh dear. You dart nimbly to the edge of the keep's roof and, fixing your cat's claws to your wrists and hands, begin the difficult descent towards the grass of the inner bailey below. You can hear exclamations of horror from the guards above as they discover Yaemon's body, but none of them thinks to look down the sheer sides of the great keep. You are halfway down before a break in the clouds allows the light of the moon to shine through. A guard in the bailey sees what he takes to be a huge black spider walking down the keep wall and unleashes a crossbow bolt at you. Do you have the skill of arrow cutting? Yes, we even used it in Book 1 on at least one occasion, and now we're going to use it again. 167. Come on. Yeah. With perfect judgment, you whip your leg around and across behind your back as you cling to the wall, and across the path of the bolt, which smashes through a window to your right. The cat's claws begin to slip, furrowing the stone of the sheer wall, and you are forced to twist your body through the broken glass of the window before the cat's claws come away completely, and you cut yourself in the process. Lose 2 endurance. Look, it's better than getting shot by a crossbow bolt. I'm not absolutely certain, but I believe that crossbow bolt was an auto kill. It was at least 4 damage, but it might have been an auto kill because you get shot and fall off the wall, at which point that is an auto kill. Ah, memories from about 30 years ago. It was 183, wasn't it? I should check that. 167. Yeah, 183. Good. When you have smashed your way through the window, you find yourself in a desert bedchamber with a door that opens out onto the spiral staircase. This leads to the bottom of the keep. As you glide down it, you hear the clatter of guards coming down from the roof behind you, and a bugle which blows 5 sharp notes. You reach the hallway and the clank of armour alerts you as soldiers appear at both ends of the hall. But there is a doorway ahead of you. If you have played Avenger, did you kill the keep's torturer in the torture chamber? If you did, turn to 302. If you did not, or have not played Avenger, turn to 314. We did, because we came in through the dungeons, and much more importantly, killing the torturer. After killing the torturer, we freed the prisoners from their prison cells to rush out and cause a big distraction. They might now actually help us escape, and more importantly, we can go down safe. Well, I say safely. If someone's found the torturer's dead and is down there, there's guards, but Essentially, we have a route back out. We've also killed the monster down there. That was horrible. That took like an episode and a half, that did. If we did not, we would be in a different situation and might have a hard time. That being said, I don't believe the author would make it impossible to continue this early on if we hadn't played Book 1. So, Section 302. I'm not going to pretend I haven't played Book 1. Well, I might look at it in between episodes and see then. The door opposite leads down to the castle dungeon where you killed the keep's torturer and set the prisoners free earlier this night. Beyond the torture chamber lies a dead beast called an elder god and a grill which leads to freedom beyond the garden moat. You remember that there is a crossbow trap which may be primed to go off if you step on a certain flagstone, so you use a flying winged horse kick to clear the flagstones and push open the door in one motion. As you leap, one of the soldiers unleashes a bolt from a crossbow. If you have the skill of arrow cutting, you're able to knock the quarrel aside with your iron-rodded forearm. If you do not have this skill, the bolt buries itself in your side and you lose 6 endurance, but sail through the door and leap down the steep steps beyond it. So it may be possible to climb down the tower, get shot, still get through the window into the bedroom, come down here and get shot again for a horrific amount of damage. So it might not be a complete auto-kill. But if it was a complete auto-kill, then we would automatically have the skill of arrow cutting had we got here, which might be why it's just integrated into the text there rather than as a decision or choice. Also to keep the entry number down to the correct amount of 420. The soldiers follow with a clatter of mail as you burst into the torture chamber. The ducking stool still hangs over the pool of water, and the dead torturer with his spiked leather bracelets and black hood is still face down in the icy pool. You dive in and swim towards the spot where you hope to find the water-filled tunnel, knowing that the soldiers will not be able to follow. You soon find an opening under the water, but to your surprise there are 2 tunnels. You only saw one when you came this way before, so which one is it? Will we swim to the left, down the wider tunnel, or the narrower tunnel on the right? Okay. When we swam in, if we didn't see the other tunnel, it's easier to miss a narrow tunnel than a wide tunnel. Also, I don't have any recollection of the tunnel we swam down to get here being described as narrow, but then again, that was a very long time ago that I played Book 1. So, Fighting Fantasy rules, left is best. We're given physical directions, not compass directions, can't go straight ahead, so left it is. And we'll see if we make it. 320. You swim powerfully along the underground tunnel for a minute before surfacing in a dark cavern. You remember the smell of putrefying flesh which greets you, and you inch your way along the cavern wall past the dead body of the elder god. At last you are below the dead monster's feeding hole, and you can leap up and grab the metal casement into which the iron grill fits. You haul yourself out onto the grass beside the grill and pause in the darkness to gain your breath. You have escaped Quenchheart Keep, at least for the moment. As you consider which way to turn, you hear the baying of the bloodhounds and the yelp of war dogs. Will you skirt the castle and run towards the Goblin Teeth Mountains that tower above it? Run against the south wind towards the Sea of the Star? Or head to the city of Druath Glenan? Right. Running against the wind means the wind will blow my scent directly to the dogs that are chasing me. So that's bad. Heading around the castle to go to the mountains? Isn't there a swamp to the north of the castle? We might be able to use it to lose our scent and evade the dogs. Head to the city of Draftglenan. Well, that's where we want to go eventually to escape. And we did have an ally there, although they probably aren't staying there for long. Oh. That's a bit of a tough one. Okay, let's rationalize this a bit more. All right. Where's that map? You never know. There might be something useful here. So if we just want to zoom in here a bit, right? The Quench Heart to keep over here. Goblin's Teeth Mountains up there. Sea of the Star down here. Draftglenan. Right. The Goblin's Teeth Mountains might be a good place to hide. Draftglenan we could hide amongst the populace. That being said, there were a lot of death cultists here associated with one of the evil masters we have slain. If a lot of them are still here, that could be a problem. But it does make sense as a place to hide. Oh. What are my best memories of this book? Apart from the beautiful encounter with Cassandra Chuchev and Thorm, whose name may be pronounced Thalm. I've heard the author use both. And that is a beautiful show. Is it in Mort Avalon or Earthman Cast? Somewhere around here, I think it is. And we're wanting to... Over here, this way, is the Island of Tranquil Dreams. Kind of want to go to the Goblin's Teeth Mountains and then come round this way. But Draftglenan, I've been there before, and I did benefit from... Ooh. Right. So I'm thinking if I can make it to the city of Draftglenan, I can hide among the people, get on a boat and sail across the Sea of the Star. That being said, if the wind is blowing from the south, and that's heading southeast and there's dogs after me, oh. I'm thinking heading towards the mountains. It will take longer to go round the keep, and I might get caught going round the keep. But it's also the least expected direction they believe I'm going to go in. So I will. Absolutely. 336. That's probably the worst choice I can make. Or it's probably the most uninformed choice I can make. As you climb into the foothills, the note of the hounds baying changes. They have been set free on your trail. The going is tough as you climb into the mountains, but you know that if you reach a rock face, you can climb away from all pursuit for a while anyway. You are struggling towards the wall of dark rock illuminated... You're struggling towards a wall of dark rock illuminated in the first rays of the grey dawn, when the ground shifts suddenly beneath your feet and you tumble down a tunnel. Oh, this is bad news. Are we getting into Quan Redeem Me territory already? My memory of that is that it's used in a specific place rather than as a generic Quan Save Me. Which should be more of a Tunnels and Trolls approach. Tunnels and Trolls, another nice series of game books, however, very random and a little bit silly when it comes to their game mechanics. There is a grinding noise as the stone trapdoor above you moves back into place. You light a torch, which shows you that you are in a narrow tunnel. You climb up to the trapdoor, but it is too heavy for you to move. Descending to the tunnel once more, you have no choice but to follow its meandering down into the depths beneath the Goblin's Teeth Mountains. This feels like an obvious redirect to another location. A way of saying, look, you came this way, but we really want you to end up over there. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Not necessarily something I would have picked up on in my youth so much either. Obviously I have more GMing experience now. So yeah, the ninja fight, let's ignore that for a moment there. The ninja fight, the showdown with the three villains, and there's one or two other rather nice encounters as well. I think there's saving a woman from a monster which has dragged her off to a cave. It's like a big snake monster, I can't remember. Oof, right. Your torch spits as you pace silently along the tunnel, the edges of which are chipped and cracked. It must have taken the work of many hammers to mine, but little care has been taken to smooth the walls. After a while, your sharp ears catch the hum of chattering voices, and a vague smell of offal reaches you. There is a glow cast on the tunnel wall ahead, from what must be a large opening, which means we should extinguish our torch, because otherwise they'll see us coming. You inch your way towards it. If you wish to look for the opening, yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to hurry past when I'm a sneaky ninja. I'll have a look, then hurry past if I'm not spotted. The opening is at the edge of... Oh, bollocks, we've been spotted, hasn't it? Haven't we? Yep, okay. The opening is at the edge of a huge cavern. A fire burns 50 feet away, and in its light you make out dozens of dark, bent-limbed beings, chattering and squabbling among themselves. They are goblins, and there are too many to guess their number in the darkness of the cavern. You draw back, but not before a sharp-eyed little nipper squeals and spits and points at you. Her mother turns to silence her with a slap, but catches sight of your torch as you slip past the opening. Why did we not... Okay. And soon there is a hue and cry behind you. Oh, now we gotta run. Yeah. Let's do it. I mean, living dangerously, but living the adventure. The tunnel bends downwards and a set of steps leads on ahead. You hurry down them into a cave with a great square of rough-hewn rock at its centre. Beyond the rock is a precipice, so deep that your torch cannot light its bottom. A tunnel leads on beyond the cave. If you wish to examine the rock, would rather hurry past. We're being chased. Examining the rock is probably for sacrifices. You know what? I'm going to take the risk here. I strongly suspect that examining the rock will involve getting caught. But we haven't had to roll any dice yet, so we're doing well. 238. If you know for sure what type of creatures live in these caves, yeah, goblins. Which means they're chasing me. If you're not yet sure, then they're not chasing me. Right. Which means they're probably going to catch me. You run quickly to a rough-hewn block of stone, and in the light of your torch you can make something out carved into the grey rock. It looks like an amoeboid mass of jelly with globe-like tentacles and many eyes floating in its body. The carving is crude, but the likeness is enough to suggest something truly hideous, and the eyes seem to claim your attention as you strain to see if one of them is moving to look at you. Your scalp crawls. The carvings beneath it show that goblins sacrifice their own people to it in the absence of victims or other races. In the absence of victims of other races. The evil fascination of the altar exercises over your spirit is broken by the raucous cries of goblins. 20 or so of them, clad in greasy black leather armour and brandishing short stabbing swords, are running at you. If you are a skilled acrobat, I don't believe I am. Oh dear, okay. If you're not, you must fight them with your back to the precipice, as opposed to leaping over it. Okay, so it's not like I'm going to get knocked in and acrobatics would prevent me taking some damage. Turn to 164, that's a lot of goblins. Oof. The goblins cry out in rage! You have trespassed in their sacred shrine. 2 of them try to topple you over the edge. Make a fate roll! Oh, 2 dice, 6 plus. I believe we is deaded. Okay. If fate turns her back on you, turn to 119. Oh, the pain. One of the goblins jabs his sword into your leg. As you toss another over your shoulder and down the one of the goblins jabs his sword in your leg as you toss him another... I will get this right. One of the goblins jabs his sword into your leg as you toss another over your shoulder and down the precipice. You catch his arm, but a third headbutts you in the groin and you lose your balance and fall 100 feet. Your torch is lost and you are in darkness. Fate has not deserted you entirely, however, as you land on top of your victim, crushing the last glimmer of life out of him as he softens your landing. But you have lost 8 endurance. Look, if that goblin took a 100-foot drop and was still alive, I think that he was just in like delayed shock at that point, and then we landed on him practically right after he did. If you're still alive, you pick yourself up, light another torch. Where am I getting all these torches from? Are they just lying around for me to pick up? And walk along the narrow shelf lit by the faint phosphorescence where a small tunnel meets the chasm into which you have fallen. And that bloody large monster's going to be down here somewhere, isn't it? As you walk along in the ghostly light which comes from the rocks all around you, a feeling of grim foreboding wells up within you. Turning a corner, your torch half lights a repellent and terrifying sight. Here it comes. Look at this. And all these eyes floating in this horrible morass. A goblin, missing its legs and lower body, dangles at the foot of a plaited vine which is knotted around its neck. Oh, that's its head in a bag, right, and that's where its waist would be. Not, let's see, I'm thinking like that's the head and the arms are like tied together at the wrists, and then this is like where the legs would be. So, a goblin, missing its legs and lower body, dangles at the foot of a plaited vine. Not a chain. Looks a little bit like a chain, but it's not. Which is knotted around its neck. Its head is covered by a hood of purple leather, which you know from your study of folklore denotes a goblin's sacrifice to one of their gods. Below it is what looks like a pool of black bubbling lava 20 feet across. Its edges are distended into tongue-like legs, and several pale green eyes quivered in the black jelly of its body. You are looking at a Primordial Terror, a relic from the days when every living thing on the world of Orb crept on its belly, long before the time of the Elder Gods. As you stare in stupefied fascination, one of the green lidless eyes floats into a tongue of matter, which inches towards you. The Primordial Terror uses the eldritch power of its thoughtless mind to hold you still until it can envelop you. You can think clearly enough, though you are rooted to the spot. Oh. Okay. Okay. Will you try to spur yourself to action by dwelling on the grisly fate that awaits you? That's not going to help. Force yourself to disbelieve in the apparition before you, knowing that it is an illusion. It will disappear. I think the carvings on the altar would suggest this is rather more real than an illusion. Recite the Ninja Covenant, the Ninja no Chigiri. That would probably be a better way of gaining inner strength than dwelling on the grisly fate, or Quan redeem us. Redeem me. I don't think this is the Quan redeem me place. So I will recite the Ninja no Chigiri. I must admit, some kind of childhood memories kicking in there, so we'll see if it helps. As the nameless horror threatens to engulf you, you mouth the words of the Covenant. When you reach the phrase, "I will be killed many times, yet will not die," you are able to draw on the mental powers of your training as a ninja, and you can move again. Will you use your torch on the amorphous mass? Maybe. Use a poison needle if you have the skill. Risk a great leap to swing on the plaited vine, but I don't have acrobatics. Right, so using a torch seems like the default if I don't want to try either of these. Poison needles I do not have. Well, bugger. I don't have acrobatics. Right. So the assumption that it's like an oily, slick, sort of marsh swamp thing that might be vulnerable to fire. The fact that this is the default means it's probably the weakest option. And that the poison needle is probably a stronger option, although it could be a red herring. Jumping to dangle on the goblin, swing on the vine. It would be putting more weight on the vine. I'm going to go with the torch. Probably the wrong option. I should probably use the goblin. Let's see. The pale, lidless eyes swim from the flame, but the black mass of its amorphous body merely ripples away from it, almost unharmed. You drive the torch at the nearest tongue of jelly, but the primordial one flows around you until you're inside a hollow circle with the heaving monster all around you. As the torch begins to die, you realize that you will have to try and run through it to the dangling vine. Oh, great, this is going to involve more damage, isn't it? Quan redeem me now? I'm thinking. Okay. Oh my god! Right. You leap into the heaving black lava-like morass and lunge for the body of the goblin. A wave of intense pain, burning like fire, hits you. The digestive juices of the nameless horror strip the flesh of your legs from the bone as you force yourself to wade through its very being. Lose 9 endurance, leaving us on 1 endurance point. If you are still alive, barely, you haul yourself up the plaited vine and set it to swing gently, untying the goblin's body so that you can pull the bottom of the vine up out of the reach of the primordial one. As the vine swings in an ever greater arc, you catch sight of the flight of stone steps leading upwards beyond the goblin's god. Letting go, you somersault through the air and drop near the bottom steps. As you look back, the horror is feeding on the remains of the goblin, whose head is just disappearing below the heavy solar surface. Blah. I bet I didn't need acrobatics to jump for the vine. Oh, the pain. The horror. You are now hopelessly lost and uncertain whether in the darkness, the confusion of flight, you may have missed a tunnel which leads out of a mountain. The stairs lead upwards for what seems like an age, and at last bringing you to a crossroads. Gritting your teeth in tired determination, you opt for the opposite tunnel which continues upwards. At last you see a welcoming circle of daylight ahead, and your footsteps quicken without you ever even realizing as you smell the beautiful fresh air. When you emerge, you are high up on the far side of the mountains from Quenchheart Keep, and a great panorama of forests and wildlands rolls below you towards the valley of the Crow River in the far west. Alright then. 235. You put several miles between yourself and the Goblin's Teeth Mountains before pausing to rest after the rigours you have endured. You are awakened from a deep sleep lasting a day and a night by light rain falling. It is the beginning of a beautiful summer's day. You may restore up to 4 points of lost endurance, and I absolutely need to. The Sea of the Star glitters in the occasional sunlight of the south, and you decide to continue west to the shore of the endless sea, so that you may avoid crossing the Man March, where you now have many foes. The only beings of any interest that you espy are a few stocky mountain dwarfs, like small specks on a far-away hilltop. After 2 days' travel, you leave the woodlands behind, and the climb begins... and climb towards a line of conical hills. Towards the end of the day, an itching in your armpits becomes acute, and you notice unpleasant black swellings all over your chest. There is nothing you can do but travel on. Oh, great. So... leeches or ticks? So we would now be a line of conical hills. Okay. So... pretty much at this point here. Heading towards Strand. Or Oakenholes. Alright. 4:15. Cool. That's going to be quite near the end, actually, isn't it? Yeah. The map, which you took from Yaemon, Grandmaster of the Flame, shows little detail of these lands, so you decide to climb the tallest of the hills to spy out the lie of the land. The top of the hill is unusually flat. Before you reach the crest, you hear a shout of horror, but cannot see the man who uttered it. You move forward stealthily, and a strange sight greets your eyes. 4 young men leap to their feet in surprise as a ghostly, faceless figure in blackened, rusted mail, like a long-buried but preserved barbarian warlord, seems to drift above the ground towards them, from the entrance of an ancient burial mound. One runs towards it, sword drawn. "No, Vespers! It will take your soul!" roars a priest in white. A third steps forward diffidently and casts a spell which causes a cloud of yellow gas to blossom around the fighter and the apparition, as a fourth man, with a green shield and cloak, each bearing a white cross, hurls a warhammer. The man in white strides forwards, whirling a flail of spiked chains, and the boiling fog of gas swallows all of them up, bar the magician who casts the spell. Magician who casts the spell, idiot. He gassed his companions. Will you run to help them? Absolutely, even in my poor condition. 397, can't be far. And there we have the Undead Barbarian Warlord, the priest, I believe, with his flail. As you dimly see hunched figures in the fog of swirling gas. Right, let's try again. You can dimly see hunched fogs in the... Hunched fogs. Look, it's 7:15, man. I really should stop soon. You can dimly see hunched figures in the fog of swirling gas. You leap in and immediately cough violently as the poisonous fumes invade your lungs, but you use your power of mind over matter to control the nausea that threatens to overwhelm you. You can dimly make out the man in white robes. He is almost helpless, the spiked chains of his flail stirring the gas ineffectually. Behind him, the spirit of the barbarian lord, seemingly untroubled by the vapours, is about to attack with a sword that glows vividly in the fog. You pull the priest behind you and prepare to give battle. Will you punch, kick, or throw the warlord? Usually a throw would be my go-to option, but he's ethereal, right? He's like a ghostly form. Probably can't throw him. I'm going to try for a kick, I believe, because I have a kick modifier. Right, 74. This could all go tits up right now. I'm badly wounded, heading into a fight. Oh, nice. The face of the barbarian is slack, but the eyes within it are windows to a soul forfeited forever. You leap and drive the ball of your foot towards the eyes. His defense against the tiger's kick is only 6, so a 7+ will hit. 6+ with my modifier. He has endurance 14. Does a fair bit of damage though. Right. Oh god, I struck him for the first time. Yeah, it's gonna really go badly, isn't it? Okay. Well, we missed completely. If it is still moving, it tries to cut your leg from your body with a heavy upward sweep of the chill gleaming sword. Your defense as you try to hop aside is 8. Let's It misses, thankfully. If it hits you, must subtract 2 from your next 2 die rolls, as a numbing cold slows your reactions. If you're still alive, you may punch, throw, or kick again. I'm going to go for a punch, just to try and break the... Oh god, he's really easy to punch, actually. So 6 is to kick, 6 is to punch. Good to know. The undead barbarian warlord lumbers towards you, its dark eyes pits of evil. You decide to put all of your strength into your blow, using the Iron Fist Punch. Alright, come on, let's please get a hit in. Yes! So, our punches only deal the 1d6 damage. Come on. 4 points. Knocks him down to a 10. Excellent. If you were to strike the Barbarian Warlord for the first time, our defense is higher against his... if we punch. Okay, for the first time, this is going to hurt, isn't it? It's going to be a no damage thing or something, isn't it? You cannot defeat the undead barbarian by taking the life which it gave up many centuries ago. Your blows, which would maim a normal body, merely break off parts of the undead warlord's body, without halting its onslaught. Half any damage which your blows cause. You must dismember it entirely if the arcane magic which gave it life is to be dispelled. If you have just punched this foe, return to 86, and yes, I have. So, that was only 2 points of damage. God, we're going to have to use inner force in this fight, aren't we? If it is still moving, it tries to claw you and strike you with its glowing sword. You try to parry its lumbering blows with your sleeve guards, and your defense is 9. If it hits you, you must subtract 2. Yeah. Okay. It's going to hit me now, isn't it? That's all I need. No! Haha! I'm gonna go for another punch. So 6 is to hit. That's great. And I forgot to say I wanted to use inner force. Lovely. Okay, 2 points. 2 points. Takes him down to 10. And he's going to try to strike me again. And miss. I will go for another punch. And this time I will use a point of inner force. And probably miss. Now, no, my luck. Oh, a hit! Beautiful. So, 1d6, 4, double to 8, half to 4. Actually makes this fight a little bit more manageable now. So he'll strike at me again, needing like a 10. My defense is 9. Yeah, I'll just keep on punching. He's not low enough to use another point of inner force just yet. That's a hit, though. Excellent. 6 damage, halves to 3. Okay, now I'm looking at inner force or a kick. Wait. A kick gives me a 50-50 of a kill. Awesome. So he's going to try and slice at me with his sword. Let's be fair, if he hits, I'm probably dead. Okay, that's a hit. I will try and parry, absolutely, so I'm trying to roll under a 9. That wasn't under a 9. I am probably dead now. Three points! I live! Somehow. Oh, brutal. Okay, going for yet another punch. No, wait. If it hits you, you must subtract 2 from your next 2 dice rolls, which can include damage, as a numbing cold slows your reactions. If you're still alive, you may kick. I will go for the kick because I have the kick modifier. Not that that's going to make a huge difference at this point. Say slack-faced, empty-eyed stare. 6 knocks down to a 5. From 7s to hit. 6 is, because of our modifier, goes up to an 8. Okay. Let's kick him. Yeah! And 1d6 plus 2 minus 2, so a much smaller chance of a kill now. 5 halves to 2.5, rounded up to 3. We got our kill! Wait. Yes, because we already took off the plus 2 penalty. Thank goodness for that. The Warlord is defeated, I wouldn't say dead. The Undead Warlord is no more than a shredded mound of grotesque decay. The dark light in its eyes is gone, and the blade of its sword turns to smoke before your eyes. A sudden breeze gets up, wafting the yellow gas away from the hilltop, and you look around. The swordsman lies bleeding on the ground. The men in white and green, priests you guess, although one is wearing armour, are not badly wounded and are overcoming the sickness caused by the magician's spell. The magician himself seems glad to see them alive, but looks sheepishly at the ground. The priest in green lays his hands upon the swordsman, who seems to have recovered a little, while the priest in white turns to face him. Well, thank you... turns to face you. Well, thank you, my friend. You have saved our lives, but how was it you could breathe inside the yellow cloud? He looks like an assassin to me, says the young magician, pointing at you as the swordsman rises to his feet. Well, at any rate, I thank you in the name of Avatar, the supreme principle of good, for ridding Orb of this evil. Despite the fact that their recent performance suggests otherwise, you judge from powerful adventures, hardened in the wilderness of Orb. Will you accept the priest of Avatar's invitation to eat with them? Yeah, absolutely. Or vanish down the hillside as suddenly as you came. Well, I will accept their hospitality. However, I am also really needing to stop this episode and go get some rest soon, actually. Now, this party of 4 adventurers also feature in the Fighting Fantasy Gamebook, Talisman of Death, I believe. And if it doesn't happen here in one of the next sections, like as we eat together, it begins with... Talisman of Death begins with this group of adventurers heading into some underground cavern complex, with one of the priests chastising the magician for using a gas spell on an undead creature that does not breathe. But for now, hey, you know what? This is a good time to end the episode. I hope you've all enjoyed this one, and I do look forward to seeing you all in the next one. It's been a long time coming, and I hope it's been worth the wait. But for now, I'm going to say bye-bye everyone, and cheerio.